will mute you all. Remember, I'll mute you all, and it's not because I don't like you guys. It's just because my voice ends up feeding back into everything. I'm not going to let you unmute yourself right now while I go through a few things. It's just a little thing, okay? I'm also going to start recording so that I can have this ready to go. Record on this computer. We're recording. We're there. Sound is there. Beautiful. Okay, great. I'm going to fix that. All right, perfect. So, welcome everybody. Yesterday with third graders, we talked about tornadoes and made tornado bottles yesterday. So, always fun. We made these little bottles. They're always fun. Mine didn't work out so good. Hopefully you remember doing that last year. Glitter's kind of a scary thing. We also, we as fourth graders have talked about bird beaks, okay, adaptations. Last week, where were we last week? I got to find us. Where were we? Oh, we did taste last week, which was probably one of my most favorite thing to do. I always like talking about that. Always an interesting thing. And so we're going to kind of focus on some living body systems. So we talked about taste. We focused on our tongue and our nose. We'll do a little bit with our ability to hear later on. I know we kind of did string sounds, but today we're going to be focused on our vision. And this one is always a great one. What we're going to build is kind of tricky, but the whole science behind it is awesome. So what we're going to do is we're going to jump here. We're going to make what are called thaumatropes today. Now that is a big fancy word for something you probably have seen before, but you might not know what it is. It's a really, really cool thing that actually kind of tricks our eyes in exactly kind of how movies work. It's by using these thaumatropes, they're actually able to develop the idea of animation and recording movies, okay? And you'll see why that is. So keep that in the back of your mind. Now, when we look at our eyeball, this is our eyeball cut in half this way, okay? Not this way, but this way, all right? We really focus a lot on the color of our eye, which is great. That's fine. That is the iris right here, okay? Yes, it could be blue, it could be brown, it could be whatever color. We focus a lot on the iris, but that's really not the most important part, okay? What we really need to be focused on is a couple things. Number one, we need to be focused on what is called the pupil, or that's the dark spot in your eye. And it's actually not a spot, it's actually an opening into your eye. So it looks black because there's no light going back into your eyeball. It's actually an opening that kind of like the zoom on a camera. So like if I have this camera here, I just happen to have one. If I take this camera and I were to turn it on real quick, I can do this. We know that I can zoom in and zoom out by adjusting this lens, okay? I'm here, I'm magnified, and then I can move it back and I adjust this lens and it adjusts how close I am. Also, it adjusts the amount of light. So we know when we're in the dark, our pupils are really big. That's why when you wake up in the morning and it's light outside or somebody throws on the light, your eyes really hurt because your pupils are what are called dilated. They're really open to allow the maximum amount of light in. When it's really bright outside, they squeeze, so they let the least amount of light in, okay? So we really need to focus on that. The other thing, other parts we need to focus on is we need to focus on what's called the lens right here, okay? The lens is what can be squeezed. It can be thinned and thickened depending on if we're looking closer or further away. So the closer we are, the more it gets kind of squishy and fat. The further away, the thinner it is. And yes, we can replace your lenses with new ones. That's why it's called cataract surgery. They actually go in, they slip the lens out, and they put a new one in. I was talking to my grandpa yesterday. He's actually at the eye doctor today, worried about doing some things with vision, which we'll talk about. And he actually has 20/25 vision at his age, which is like low to mid 80s, okay, without glasses. The only reason he wears glasses is because he needs it for reading, which is closer up. Otherwise, he could pass it. He could survive without glasses. Kind of a cool thing. The other thing we need to focus on is this back part right here, which is actually by far the most important part. And it is this retina back here. And this retina is basically like, if this were a white sheet, it'd be like a projector screen. It's projecting it out, and that's where the image goes. And it wants to be focused right where that nerve is, the optic nerve right here, so it can send it to the brain. Okay, so we have to worry about those things. So right now, my grandpa is headed to, the only reason is because we bought my grandparents' house, and he still lives with us because he's still really healthy. Kind of weird arrangement, but I'm sure it's no different for you guys. It's just he enjoys it. Plus, he's free landscaping, so he mows all the time, so it keeps him busy. Anyway, so he is actually at the doctor today getting an injection in his eyeball. Yes, they literally are sticking a needle in his eyeball with some medicine, but here's why. The reason why they're doing this is he has, and you may have heard it before, it's called macular degeneration, meaning you start to get this dark fuzzy spot right in the center of your eye, and then it starts to spread and get worse. But what he's doing is he's keeping it from spreading, okay? Because we as human beings actually do have a blind spot in front of our eyeball. And here's how I want you to do this. So I'm going to stop here real quick and check this out. All right. What I need you to do is take your finger, okay? And you're going to start kind of right here, and you can end up crossing your eyeballs, okay? Actually, you can start about a foot or two out. Stare right at your finger and move it closer in until you see a hole in your finger. And you should see a hole about a foot to 2 feet away from your eyeball. All right, I'm going to stop my screen share and see what's going on. Did everybody find it? Everybody kind of find that hole? Okay, yeah, just keep it out about 2 or 3 feet, and then slowly stare at the center of your fingertip, and then keep looking, and eventually, like right here, looks like there's a hole in my finger. I can see through it. It's really weird. Okay, I see some people did it. Kind of looking. If you can't figure it out, it is a little bit tricky. Nicole says she could take her glass off. She gets cross-eyed. Absolutely. And then when you go cross-eyed and you move it forward, you actually get a hole in your finger. It looks like there's actually a hole in your finger. It's really weird. Because when we look, okay, our left eye kind of goes out and points to our right. Our right eye goes out and points to our left, and they actually cross over about a foot to 2 feet in front of us. So that's why sometimes when something's coming at you, you kind of lose it sometimes, because you actually do have a blind spot. That's the one drawback about being a human. We have that blind spot, and we can't see all the way around because our eyes are fixed. The other issue with this is the fact that because we have a blind spot like that, our eyes can be tricked really easy. Want proof? Here we go. So we get what's called persistence of vision. So whenever you stare at something, it'll stay on that screen for a 1/16 of a second. We get tricked all the time in vision. Okay, I'll go over that eye thing here in a little bit. It's kind of tricky. So we get stuck sometimes. All right, take a look at this. If you stare at this side of the screen, do you see the candlestick holder or the vase, or do you see two faces? You don't have to type anything in. Do you see the candlesticks, or do you see the faces? It depends on how you're looking, okay? I'm going to kind of line this one right here. And you can kind of see me tracing poorly. That's kind of where the face is. But you can kind of see where the candlestick is too. Now look at this picture over here. Look at the picture over here to the right. Okay? You should be able to see both off and on. Look at the one on the right. Do you see the young lady looking away to the distance, or do you see the old woman's face? And see, that's weird. You don't have to type anything in. It's weird. For the longest time, I could never find the young lady's face with the feather on her hat right here. I could never find that because my brain was so locked in to this nose shape and chin of this old lady right here. But if you look, do you see this little bump right here? Imagine that that's a nose. Here's the hat. Here's her coat, and she's looking off to the right like this. Weird. Optical illusions. Take a look at this. Oh, my favorite one. Which line is longer? Actually, here, we're gonna have fun with this. I'm gonna do this poll. Hang on, I need to edit this poll real quick because I want to see what you guys actually see. I'm breaking the internet. Hang on one second. Get rid of that one, get rid of that, add a poll. All right, here we go. See if I can do this. It's kind of tricky. Oh, whoops. This is what happens when you do this live. It's kind of funny. You break the internet. All right. I'm trying to get used to this. Hang on. ARB. All right, vote now. Which one is longer? According to this picture, I'm going to kind of get rid of a few things. I'm going to share my screen. Which one is longer? Is it A or is it B? Is it A or is it B? Which one is longer? A or B? Look at that picture. Which is longer? A or B? I don't know if that's in the way. Hang on a second. Hang on. I'm going to move this over. Keep voting for now. I see some people are thinking, I think they're the same. Maybe. Which is longer? Is it A or is it B? Just what do you think off the top of your head? Some people are saying the same. I can't vote. Should be able. Oh, I see some people can't find the old lady face. I'll help you. I'll go back to that one. Looks like most people think A is longer than B. I'm going to go ahead and stop here. Okay. So most think that it looks like A is longer than B. Okay. Obviously, it's B. I can't vote. That's weird. If you look at it, do I have a little thing? Oh, no. All right. Look at this. I'm gonna do a quick little thing. Some people can't vote. It kind of depends. None of the above. Some people can't vote. I don't know why that is. I think it just jams on some people. So if I do this, take a look. I'm going to use hot pink. Here is the starting line here. And here. Here. And here. If I were able to, I could draw a straight line across, and actually, pretty much they are, if I could draw a straight line, they're the same length. So those of you who thought it was the same, great. But what does it look like is longer to us? It looks like A is longer because A has these things that point out. Even though they are not different. Nicole, you can't vote. I turned it off for a little bit. Okay, so it throws us off for a loop. Okay, somebody was asking they couldn't find the old lady face. Okay, here, let me trace. Here is her nose, big nose right here. And here's her kind of her mouth, and her chin is right here. I'll kind of draw in her face a little bit. Here's her mouth, like right here. And I'll make her eyes blue. Here's kind of an eyeball. And that's kind of an eyeball there. And this is like an eyelash. Here's an eyelash. Do you see it now? Here's like a nostril. Kind of see it now? That's creepy. That was really creepy. Do you see it now? My bad drawing. Yeah. I think some people. Okay, got it. Good. Okay. Hopefully you find it now. That's kind of, ooh, that looks creepy. It was somebody asked that they couldn't find it. It's tricky to find it. It is a little bit tricky. Sometimes it kind of goofs with your head. Okay. When we go here, again, A and B are the same, even though to most people, A might look bigger because it has it pointed out. This is a famous mathematician and artist, M.C. Escher. If you try to follow these staircases, they continue to loop. All right. And then one last thing to really mess with your brain. Okay. If you want to have fun with how our brain gets tricked, try to say as far as you can, the color of the font. If you're colorblind, this is going to be tricky. The color of the font, not the word. So instead of saying yellow, you would say green. Instead of blue, you would say red, and you're going to go as far as you can without making a mistake. I'll give you a little bit. You don't have to type anything in. Just see how far you can go. I can tell you I can only get about 5 or 7 in, and then I goof up. All right, it always happens. Yeah, you're going to goof up and goof up quickly. Trust me, you will make mistakes very, very, very quickly. Okay, so it goes, if I were to try to do it here, watch, I'll make a fool of myself. Green, red, blue, yellow, blue, black, red, blue, green, black. Okay, I'm having problems. If I try to speed up, I got to about red. I got about here, and I about said red. Because it's one of those things where, now, Erica says she didn't make a mistake. Now go faster, Erica. Go faster. I have a feeling that if you go really slow, it's fine. The faster you go, the more you goof up. Okay. The other weird thing is I could mix up all these letters on the inside, and it would still make sense to you. We could put mistakes in sentences, like use the word the twice. You wouldn't even notice it, because our brain wants to put things in where it doesn't happen. It's really, really, really strange. Our eyes want to give us information that's really not there. And so why is this a big deal? Because we can make animations and things move by using that persistence and that trick of our eye. The pictures really don't move. If you've ever seen like somebody with like a notepad, and they sit there and they go like this, and they go and they make these little animations, it's not really moving. They're not moving. It's a picture. And each picture stacks on top of each other, but you move the picture so fast that it appears to be motion. Most movies are in 24 frames per second. Some are shot in 36. Some are shot in 60 frames per second. Okay? A lot of video games, they go into 60 to 72 frames per second, but that's ridiculously high, and a lot of that. Yes, it is exactly like a flip book. If you take those little flip books, the image, it looks like the image is moving, but it's not really moving. It's just individual pictures. And when you move them a little bit faster, they end up looking like motion, because we can't see in frames per second. Our actual vision is really pretty slow. And our brain wants to try to tell us what we think we see when it's not really there. Does that kind of make sense? Our brain and our eyes don't always work together the best. Our brain can be easily fooled by our eyes, because our eyes are always moving so fast, trying to pick up lots of information, but we don't pick up information the best. We don't have the best vision. So why are we worried about these thaumatropes? Because we're going to put 2 pictures on each side. We can use it with strings. I use a dowel, and we can make it blend into one picture. So this is a lot of fun. I'm going to go ahead and change my view here real quick so that we can do this. If you have your materials, great. Here we go. What you need is I used cardstock. Okay, I've already cut out my circles because, well, I just have. Okay, and what you'll do is you're going to cut out you're going to trace a couple circles. You can even do this with 1 circle. So by the time you're done, you'll need like 3 circles if you do it a couple different ways. Okay, so let's say I'm going to trace this circle. I trace this circle, okay, and then you can go ahead and cut out your circle. So I'll give you a minute or 2 to go ahead and trace your circles and cut out your circles. If you have questions, now would be a good time. If you have some questions about, the weirdness of vision, if you want to type that in. If you're participating, great. The circles don't have to be very big. I use this great 7-ounce Sippy cup here, it's great. Only the classiest of drinkware. This one might go a little bit longer than our. Can you use regular paper? Absolutely, you can use regular paper. I just like to use cardstock because it's a little bit thicker and it doesn't like bend or tear as easily. That's a good question. Regular paper works, it's just more flexible. Cardstock or construction paper, it's a little bit better because if you think about it, it's a little bit thicker. That's a good question. And guys, you don't have to, when we do science, we've never used anything really fancy, have we? No, we've just used regular everyday materials. So I'll give you some time, guys. Sorry, teachers, this might be a little bit longer. And those of you kind of watching along, this will be a little bit thing. Good question. My YouTube channel name, it is my name. So it's Patrick Bromer. And then just search that and it shows all of the videos. I've also sent all of the video links. They're in a Google Drive, my Google Drive, that it's shared with everybody. So your teachers have the link to it. I can put the link up for you guys if you want to use it. This great, no, I made one science camp. Did we do this last year's science camp? Awesome. If you know what you've done, great. If you haven't, perfect. Give you about another minute here or so. Kind of finished. Kind of checking everybody. I know a lot of people turn off their videos. That's fine. That's okay. I'm just seeing who's done, who isn't done. That's fine. How many circles do you need right now? 2 works now. Two circles will work. Perfect. You cut out 4, perfect. 4 is a great number, especially if you have thin and regular paper. It might work better to have 4 so you can tape them back to back. All right. Okay, I'm going to go ahead. It looks like most people are cutting things out. We're getting pretty close. I'm going to go ahead and move mine off to the side. And then what I want to show you is how to build it and put it together so that then you can put it together on your own. All right. Now we're going to end up coloring quite a few things here. You're going to end up drawing a lot of things. Okay, perfect. I'm going to make sure I'm the right side up. Okay, we're going to end up drawing and doing a whole lot of things. So if you're cutting things out, now might be a good place to stop. You can kind of follow along with me. Here's how I would build it. Now I have this really, really long skewer. I was using a lot of them for projects for science camp from last year. What I'm going to do is, or you can use a straw would work for this, but it needs to be something fairly heavy. What I would do is this. I'm going to take one of my circles, but before I put my circles, I'm going to draw a picture on one side. I decided to make a house. Okay, why? It's just fast and simple. Don't draw anything yet. Follow along first. Okay, I'm going to draw one half of my picture first. The most common one you'll see is people will draw a fishbowl. Okay, and if I were to draw a terrible fishbowl here, I could draw it like this. Okay, here's the bottom, and here's the top. Poorly drawn. You're welcome. Okay. There you go. Okay. So I'm going to draw like a fishbowl. All right. That's on one side. Okay. I'm going to take one of my pictures. I'm going to take it. I'm going to use the pointed end out so I don't accidentally poke myself. I'm going to take some tape. I'm going to tape my skewer right to the middle. We kind of did this with hot air erasers. If you remember, we kind of stuck those down really nicely. Is that clear or is that kind of blurry? That's worse. There we go. Sometimes it's focus, sometimes it's the lighting. My room is not always the best for lighting. Okay, do this, take this here, stick it, okay, and there. Now I got my skewer down. Okay, so that's one side. So I could do this and whee, it would work, okay? Now, my next step is to try to make sure that my picture lines up the exact same way on the other side. Do we do the picture with the colors? Yes. I'm just showing you how to build it right now. Okay, so those kind of line up. Now, you're kind of basically building a lollipop. So I've got this here ready to go. All right. I'm going to take some of my tape, and I'm using clear tape. I'm going to tape one edge, and you could tape on the inside as well. And I'm going to tape the other edge, just like this. Okay. That looks pretty good. And so right now I've got basically a lollipop. Can you use a toothpick? You could. It's just going to be a little bit trickier because it's a little bit smaller. Now, cool, right? I've got that. It's pretty close. So now, if I take this, my picture lollipop, right? I put it in between my hands and I rotate it back and forth. Now it looks like my house has some clouds by it, right? You see the smoke coming out of the chimney. Is it working for you guys? You guys kind of see that? Ooh, it does work. I can see it on my end. You should be able to see. There you go. Ta-da! Is it working now? Can you see it? Whee! It's lagging so you can't see it. Yeah, it is a little bit tricky. Depends on your internet. Yeah, if your internet's a little bit slow, it might be a little bit tricky. But when you do this, so here, but notice, I only have the pictures of the clouds on one side. Oh, I might want to tape that top. That might be better. Okay. So I'm going to tape this top here real quick. I know you guys, there, I'm going to tape that. All right, ready? Okay, those of you with a light, no, notice, one side has this, one side doesn't. So here we go, we'll try it again. And there you go. If I drew the clouds on the other side, if I could trace the clouds on the other side, that'd be awesome. But I'm such a terrible artist. That's not the same color. There it is. What if I draw the clouds on the same side? Hang on. I'll try to draw clouds. And now I'll just have the chimney. There, let's try that. I'm going to try this with just the chimney. Okay, here we go. Now it should just make chimney smoke. There we go. Now it's just a chimney that looks like it's has smoke coming out of it, but does it actually? Doesn't. Because your brain thinks that that's still there. If you go even faster, now it looks like it's just stuck there, even though it isn't. So you're kind of making the idea of a flip book. You're kind of making the idea of a flip book just between your hands, so it goes like this. And it should work pretty well if you draw it correctly. Sometimes the easiest way to do this is this. Draw a picture on one side and then draw the opposite on the other. And then when you spin it, it'll work a little bit better. Now, that's one way to do it. That's one way. That's a little bit more complex if you happen to have a skewer. It's possible. All right, no, I'm kidding. But there's one other way to do this. There's one other way to do this. Okay? Now, I'll show you how to do this real quick. This is one other way. So if you don't have any skewers, guess what? You can do this without it. So I only have one circle here. On one side, I drew a cloud. On the other side, I drew a smiley face. What I'm going to do is I don't have a hole punch, but if I had a hole punch, I'm going to punch a hole, one on each side. Now, I'm doing this the very unsafe way, right? Using scissors and poking myself. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my rubber band. Watch here real quick. I'm going to go through. I can even go this way. Got to open these holes just a little bit bigger. There you go. Without tearing my paper too much. I'm going to go through this little opening here. Okay. And if you know kind of, darn it. I'm getting there. I'm going to go through this opening. I'm going to go through this opening. I totally got it. Totally got it. I don't got it. I'll use this here real quick. That didn't help. Obviously, you can see I'm doing a great job here, ladies and gentlemen. A hole punch would be much better for this. Rubber bands are very tricky to use. And my fingers are not working today. There we go. Okay, got it. Okay, so I got that through. Watch. So I'm going to take this. Okay. And what I want to do is I want to knot this real quick. So I'm going to take my, watch this. So I've got a little loop here, big loop over here. I'm going to take this right here. I'm going to tie it here. I'm going to make this go through this opening. And then I'm going to tie that shut. Okay. See how I kind of did that? Okay, that's one side. Now I'm going to do the same with the other side. This is just another way to do this. If you got yours with the popsicle stick, great. I'm just showing you another option. This is another option. And it works pretty well too. This is a very, very, very old 17th century, so like 16th and 17th century kind of toy. Watch one more time. Here we go. Small end, big end. Loop the big end through the little end. Pull and tighten. So now what I'm going to do is this. Okay. All right. So here's another thing. Now, I'm going to take it between my fingers. What I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to spin it. So I'm kind of like using a wind-up airplane. We'll see if this works. I have never done this. Welcome to, this is Live Science with Patrick to see if his science idea works. Oh, okay. Well, kind of. Let's see. Think I can get this to work? We'll see. So I'm going to do this. And I'm going to tighten it. And then just like those of you who love to make yourselves go, all right, ready? Oh, you didn't see it, did you? Dang, nabbit. Can't get this to work. So if I twist it a few times, I swear I'm going to get this to work for you guys. It's working. I can see it. All right, ready? Set. Is it working? Yeah, you can kind of get it to work. It's not perfect. All right, I wish I could get my fingers to work correctly. So that's another way. Yeah, this is another way to get it to work. It should work, but it's not always perfect. There we go. That kind of worked. All right. So it kind of worked, it looked like. All right, this is another option. You only need one circle, one on this side, one on the other side. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is basically it. That is all there is to it. So I've kind of given you a couple different ideas on how to build a thaumatrope. All right. So really, why is it so important? Because that persistence of vision, okay, the way that our eyes get tricks played on us is this idea right here. By using this, this is how, by doing this, by taking this idea and putting a bunch of pictures together, we came up with the first animations and videos. Here we go. Ready? Set. Let's see if I can get it to work. Ready? That kind of worked. All right. So these are just some ideas. This works pretty well. I like this one. This works pretty well. Matt and I built one with a DC motor on a piece of cardboard that continually spins that had an alien abducting a cow. You can research this on the internet a ton. Type in thaumatropes. It's Thaumatropes. Yeah. It's not great, but remember, you're in a prototype phase. Okay. Right now you are in a prototype phase. This is I'm testing it. I'm trying. Guess what? You can do this. You can take it off. You can try it again. All right. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and stop our recordings real quick. I need to stop the streaming too because it's kind of a pain.